I am your presenter, LaQueta Ben Walker. Um, if you are completing an extra credit assignment for a class based on this presentation, we ask that you please do not type the answers to the extra credit questions in the chat box. That will not help you. Your instructor should have created an assignment in the Blackboard course, and that is where you will need to submit your responses. Um, Otherwise, if you type them in the chat and you never submit them, you never submitted them. So, hope that was clear. Okay, so we're going to get started on study skills and time management. So, the technical definition of procrastination is the act of delaying or putting off things until the last minute or past their deadline. The thing about procrastination, though, in most cases, it's not a sign of a serious problem. It is a common tendency that most people give into at some point or another. So we often assume that projects won't take as long to finish, but they actually do. This gives you like a false sense of security when you believe that you still have plenty of time. So, one of the biggest factors that contributes to procrastination is the you have to feel inspired to do something or motivated to work. So the reality is that if you keep waiting until the right time or the right frame of mind to complete something, um, you probably won't ever be able to do that because you'll notice that there's never really a right time. So do you put things off, especially your homework assignments or any other thing you need to do? A couple of things you can do to avoid procrastination is like those little tasks or things that you have to do before you start studying or before you start doing your homework. Like you need a snack. You got to call your friend. Go ahead and get all that out of the way. And then set a specific time to study each week. And you have to make yourself stick to it. I always tell my students you have to be a student on purpose, meaning that it's going to be uncomfortable sometimes. You're going to rather do something else, but you got to do what you got to do. So, all those little tasks, try to save those to after you have completed your assignment. So, when it comes to being a good student, one thing that can be very helpful for you is
Is
knowing what your learning style is. So, what's a learning style? So, a learning style, yeah, is how you learn. We all learn differently. What works for one person may not work for another one. And it certainly may not even be the way that your instructor teaches. However, there are some things that you can do to cater to your learning style. So, some of us respond better to verbal instruction, a lecture. Some people prefer to watch a video or to just read instructions. And then some people need to use their bodies or their hands while they're learning. So each person tends to have a particular type of method that works for them in learning. And we call this a learning style. So if you've never heard of this or unfamiliar, there are actually three main ways that we learn. It is visually, auditory, which is from hearing, tactile, that is actually using your body or your hands. So if you've ever been curious or what your learning style is, why don't all of you take out a piece of paper and a pen because I have a learning style quiz. These are some questions, and you will select the one that best represents how you feel. You will tally up those, and you will then know what your learning style is. So, the first question is if I have to learn how to do something, I learn best when it's very important to put the letter that corresponds with the sentence. So, V, watch someone show me how. A, hear someone tell me how. Or K, I try to do it myself. The next question. When I read, I often find that I visualize what I'm reading in my mind's eye, read out loud, or hear the words inside of my head. Or K, I fidget and try to feel the content. Okay, question 3. When
Repeat
asked
that.
to give directions, I see the actual places in my mind as I say them. Okay, sorry, I lost connection to my PowerPoint. So, okay, now let's try this again. Question 3. So, when asked to give directions, I either see the actual places in my mind as I say them, or I prefer to draw them, or have no difficulty in giving them verbally, or K, I have to point or move my body as I give them. Question 4. If I am unsure how to spell a word, I either, V, write it in order to determine if it looks right. A, spell it out loud in order to determine if it sounds right. Or K, I write it in order to determine if it feels right. Question 5. When I write, I either V, I'm concerned with how neat and well spaced my letters and words appear. A, often say the letters and words to myself. Or K, I push hard on my pen or pencil and I can feel the flow of the words. Question 6. If I had to remember a list of items, I would remember it best if V, I wrote them down. A, I said them over and over to myself. Or K, I move around and use my fingers to name each item. Okay, question 7. I prefer teachers who V, use a board or overhead projector while they lecture. I talk with, I prefer my teachers to talk with a lot of expression, moving hands. Or K, use hand-on activities. Okay, question 8. When trying to concentrate, I have a difficult time when V, there is a lot of clutter or movement in the room. A, there is a lot of noise in the room. Or K, I have to sit still for any length of time. Almost done. Question 9. When solving a problem, I V, write or draw diagrams to see it. A, I talk myself through it. K, use my entire body or move objects to help me think. Question 10. When given written instructions on how to build something, I would V, read them silently and try to visualize how the parts will fit together. A, read them out loud and talk to myself as I put the parts together. Or K, I try to put the parts together first and then read those directions later. And this should be the last 2 questions. 11, to keep myself occupied while I'm waiting, I either V, look around, stare, or read. A, I talk or listen to other people. Or K, I walk around. I have to manipulate things with my hands. I have to move around, as I sit still. And the last question, if I had to verbally describe something to another person, I would V, be brief because I don't like to talk at all or too long. A, go into great detail because I do like to talk. Or K, gesture and move around while I'm talking. So what you should do now, there are 2 more questions, sorry. So 13, if someone were verbally describing something to me, I'm either going to be V, I'm trying to visualize it as they say it. A, enjoy listening, but want to interrupt and talk myself. K, I become bored if their description gets too long and detailed. And 14, when trying to recall somebody's name, I remember V, their faces, but I'm going to forget their name. A, names, but forget faces. Or K, the situation where I met them is how I can remember their name. Now, you should add up how many V's you have, how many A's you have, and how many K's that you got. This
Does
will
anyone
actually
need
tell you.
anything,
Mhm.
repeated, or anyone have any questions about the learning style quiz before we?
Thank you.
Yeah, if we can just start it all over, because like at some point, at several points, we were all like, she was ahead and the quiz and the point was behind, so I got lost.
Okay, no worries. So, for those of you who joined us a little late, this learning style quiz, you're going to select the best answer that represents you and ensure that the answer that you select, that you're listing the letter, if it was V, if it was A, or if it was K. So I'm just going to read the question, and hopefully you guys will read the answers, because I'm going to go through these a little quickly. So question 1 is, if I have to learn how to do something, I learn best when I select either V, A, or K. Number 2, when I read, I often find that I visualize, read out loud, or fidget to try to feel the content. Okay, question 3. When asked to give somebody directions, I either, have to see it in my mind. I have no difficulty giving it to them, or I have to point or move my body when I give those directions. Question 4. If I am unsure how to spell a word, I will have to either write it, spell it out loud, or write it in order to determine how it feels. Question 5, when I write, I am either concerned how neat, how it looks, or I have to say the letters in the words as I write them, or I have to push really hard on my pen or pencil so I can feel the flow of the words. Question 6, if I had to remember a list of items, I would remember it best if I wrote them down, had to say them over and over, or move around and have to use my fingers to name each item. Question 7, I prefer teachers who either use a board or a projector while they're lecturing, talk with a lot of expression, use hand-on activities. Question 8, when trying to concentrate, I have a difficult time when there's a lot of clutter or a lot of movement going on around me, or there is a lot of noise in the room, or if I have to sit still for long periods of time. Okay, question 9, when solving a problem, I either have to write it, talk myself through it, or use my entire body to help me think. Question 10, when given written instructions on how to build something, I read them silently, or I have to read them out loud, or I just try to put the parts together first and then read it later. 11. So to keep myself occupied while I'm waiting, I either look around, stare, talk to or listen to other people, or I have to walk around or, use my hands or something. Okay. Question 12. If I had to verbally describe something.
Make sure and mute yourself, please, when you come in.
Yes, please make sure you mute your microphones because thank you. So question 12. If I had to verbally describe something to another person, I would be brief because I don't like to talk too long. Go into great detail because I like to talk, or gesture and move around while I'm talking. And your last 2 questions. 13 was, if somebody were verbally describing something to me, I would try to visualize it, or enjoy listening, or become bored because their description is too much detail. And 14, when I'm trying to remember somebody's name, I remember best, I remember their faces, but forget their names, or I remember names, but I forget their faces. Or you have to remember the situation where you met them, and that helps you remember their name. So now you're going to add all of the ones that you had V for, add all of the responses that were represented by A, and then add all your responses that were represented by K. So the letter that has the most numbers by it, that would indicate your learning style. So if you had more V's, you are a visual learner. If you had more A's, you're an auditory learner. If you had more K's, you are what's called a tactile / kinesthetic learner. And what are those, you ask? Okay. So a visual learner is a person who learns best visually. You will actually learn best when you have to read information. You have to see it. An auditory learner, this is a person who learns better by sound. So you actually get the best of information from hearing it. A tactile slash kinesthetic learner, you learn by experience. You have to feel or do something. So if your learning style was visual, you would learn best by taking very detailed notes. You would probably want to rewrite your notes when you get home. You could even draw diagrams to represent what the lecture was about. Now, if you are an auditory learner, you learn best by sound. So you might have, if your instructor records their lectures, listening to them again will be helpful for you. Also, watch videos, YouTube videos pertaining to whatever concept or theory you're learning. And if you're studying, you might have to read your information out loud. Now, again, if you're a tactile or a kinesthetic learner, you're a person who likes to use your hands, your body. So you would have to probably act out the part or perform like a task while you're doing it. For example, if you're doing something even with history, you would actually have to maybe stand up, move around while you read your notes. Sitting quietly doesn't work for tactile learners. So if you happen to know your learning, discovered your learning style today, these are just some ways that you can learn best. Now let's talk about some organization here. So also too, I hope everyone got a good look. If you are familiar with a certain quiz, that I'm wearing a lovely pink shirt and a gray jacket. I say that because I am going to turn off my camera and proceed. So one thing that I find students struggle with is organization. Yeah, organization is going to be the key to being a successful student. So some people struggle with getting organized. So a few things that you can do to help you in class is every class should have a syllabus or some type of course schedule. It is recommended that you print that course syllabus and put it with your notebook. If they have a calendar of due dates, print that. Also, this is something that I did in school. I would print my instructor's due date calendar, and I would also put those dates on my own personal planner. So if you have a calendar on your phone, or if you're old school like me and you use an actual print calendar, it is important within the first week of school to go ahead and sit and write down your due dates. Write down all the assignments for those classes in your planner or in your calendar. Also, you should plan ahead of time. Once you've recorded all your due dates, it's a good idea actually to keep it with you. Now, I don't recommend using more than one. If you're going to use your calendar on your phone, that's good. If you're going to use a handwritten planner, just use that. If you're using both, if that's going to cause you more trouble than it's worth, stick to one. So also when it comes to being organized, you got to manage your time wisely. As most of you may have been discovering, you don't have enough time in your day to get everything done. But if you were to set specific times to complete specific tasks and stick to it, that kind of takes a little of the load off of you. So in school, you can actually schedule time to study. Stick to it. You know what your day looks like. You know when you have to work. You know when you have to go to the grocery store. So actually, literally write all those down. So in school, you're probably taking what, 1, 2, 3, 4 classes. You cannot study for all those classes on the same day. So I do recommend for the whole week. Yes, guys, that's going to be Friday night and Saturdays and Sundays as well. You set specific times for a specific subject. So for example, Monday from 6 to 8, I'm going to study my biology. Tuesday from 4 to 5:30, I'm going to study my make notes for my psychology course. Wednesday from 12 to 1:30, I'm going to conduct some research for English. Thursday, I'm going to complete my psychology assignment. Friday, I have like an hour and a half, so I'm going to study some biology. Saturday, I'm going to take 2 hours to finish my English paper from 12 to 2. And Sunday, I'm going to take some time to prepare this whole week for next week. It's very important to schedule days and times. So this is how a weekly school goals by course would look. You're taking these 3 classes. So you're putting in the exact activity you're going to do to study for that class. Also, if you are a person who likes to schedule weekly, here's an example of what this looks like. Yeah, write down breakfast. I'm having breakfast at 7. 8, I have to do carpool. 9 to 10, I do have a little free time. So it is very important to write your schedule down and stick to it. Granted, you may not always be able to stick to this to the letter, but as close as you can to this, especially regarding your studying, is very important. Now, also another helpful tool in learning is note-taking. I do realize that this can be tasking, especially if your instructor talks too fast or you're not clear on what you should write down. So, but I do want to stress taking notes in class is very important. I have seen students come to class with just a phone and nothing to take notes with. I don't recommend that. Your memory is not perfect. Even if you understand it while the instructor's talking, you're going to forget that as soon as you leave that class. So anything you're not paying attention to, you're going to forget. Because think about it, we get distracted every second, actually. So information that we listen to, that we hear, that we see, this only stays in our working memory for about 60 seconds on average. So nobody has a perfect memory. If you don't attend to any information, it's lost. So when it comes to taking notes, a couple of things I recommend, of course, pay attention to what your instructor says, what they do. So this means you're going to have to put that cell phone down in class and you listen to what they're saying. If your instructor writes something on the board or repeats some information, that's usually something important. It probably means it's going to end up on an exam or an important assignment. So if they take the time to write it down, you should too. Also, if possible, read your chapter before you go to class. That way, when the instructor's going over the information, it's not going to look so foreign to you. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I kind of remember that now. So that's just a good idea if you can. You're priming your brain. You're preparing it for class. And this way it's causing you to be familiar with the topic. Also, when you are taking notes, write them in your own words. Granted, the instructor is going to be using probably some terms and concepts that you're unfamiliar with. So if you've listened to the lecture and the instructor gives an example, rewrite the example for that term in a method that you can understand. The thing about taking notes, it is impossible to write down every single thing your instructor says. Actually, that is a terrible way to take notes. You can't do it. So if you're writing down everything they say, you're not really listening. So that is a bad practice. So when you're writing your notes from a lecture, they should be short, they should be sweet, and they should be to the point. While you're taking notes, students, you don't really think about the topics that your instructors are saying. So it's important to take notes so you can remember these ideas. It's very important to understand a new concept or a new term when they're being introduced at a fast rate. Notes are not going to help you if you don't understand what the concept is. Also, some students don't ask questions while their teacher's lecturing. Perhaps you think it's rude. No, teachers, instructors, we love this. Please interrupt with a question if you need some clarity or you have a comment. That interaction is going to help you remember the information and also alert your instructor that you're not asleep, that you really are paying attention. Also, there are actually a couple of ways that you can take notes. I remember when I was in college, I had no idea how to take notes. And guys, I'm sorry this was before PowerPoints. So all of my notes were taken from the instructor's lecture, and they talked 90 miles a minute. So I literally took a note-taking class so I can know how to take notes. So as I stated, you will never be able to write down every single thing your instructor says, but there are some shorthand methods that you can try. So one method of taking notes is the outline method. This is actually one of my preferred ways of taking notes. So the outline method is just like an outline. You have your, you can get fancy and have your Roman numerals, 1, A, B, C, or bullets. The whole point is that with the outline method, you're going to put information clear, because sometimes your instructor may jump around, or they may have said a really long sentence and you didn't capture all of it. So with the outline, you will have the main point of that and any other details under that main point. An outline is a really good way to keep your notes organized. And even though some of your responses may be short, you will know what concept it aligns with. That is actually a really good practice. Another method of taking notes is called the Cornell method. So the Cornell method is, just imagine your tablet or notebook. On the left column, you have this margin. So the Cornell method shows that you should put your main ideas in what's called a Q column, or just the left-hand margin. And next to it, in the area next to it, you will put down details, information that goes with that main idea. So with the Cornell method, you're going to actually have two columns. You're going to have one called the Q column, or you can call it terms, definitions, whatever suits you. And next to that term or definition, you're going to list the details and the information. This is also a good way of having your notes organized. And actually, this is a really easy method to take notes during class. And then we have what's called the boxing method. So the boxing
I
method
apologize,
is,
ma'am, but you got it mixed up. We're looking at the boxing method as you were talking about the other method.
okay, well, my PowerPoints must, because they're showing correctly to me. So this is showing you boxing here?
No, ma'am. This is the outlined method is what I'm looking at right now.
Huh,
That's the Cornell method right there.
okay, yes, okay.
No,
I
that's the
know that.
boxing method.
Now it's showing the topic method for me.
Yes, so
You can use the arrows down there and just flip.
Oh, I thought that would have messed you up. Otherwise, I would have done that myself. I
oh,
apologize.
not at all. No worries. Yeah, thanks guys for helping out. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, no worries. So, yeah, boxing method. That's where I was. So, the boxing method is just that. I know it may seem elementary to some of us, but we're literally drawing boxes and we're literally writing information in it. But again, guys, this keeps your information together by term or by a concept or by a topic. So when you're using the boxing method, what you're doing is you're creating a box and you're going to list key notes or ideas from one section. Then you're going to take another box and you're going to put in key notes or information. Also, this is a nice way to keep your notes nice and neat if you're that person. And that way you know what goes with what. And usually at the end of your page for the boxing method, you want to have a summary. This summary is kind of what this whole concepts or definitions, what do they pertain to? Or even what was the topic today in class? Also, another method of taking notes is the mapping method. So mapping is also some drawing as well, but what you do with this method is in the middle, you're going to put in the main idea or the main concept. Then you're going to draw smaller circles of details of that topic. It would look something like this. Granted, it's going to be circles and lines, but again, this way you are connecting your ideas. And for example, if your instructor, again, is giving a really long sentence and it has to pertain to Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic therapy. Sorry, guys, I teach psychology. So underneath there, you would certainly have unconscious thoughts You would probably have id, ego, and superego. You also probably list one of Freud's theories, the psychosexual theory. And then if there are other details that you want to add on to those topics, you can also have little small circles underneath those. So all these methods, as you can see, are kind of a shorthand way, because again, you cannot write down everything your instructor says. So you want to get those main points. And if they give an idea, or an example, this is when you draw and list those underneath your main ideas. So also when it comes to being a good student, you got to have some good study tips. I'm sorry, but if you are a genius, that's awesome stuff. But most of us are going to have to study. As I stated earlier, when it comes to memory, our memory is not perfect. It is not great. Any information, I don't care if you sat in your lecture for an hour, by the time you leave there, you have had other conversations. You have other things on your mind. All of that new information is going to be interfering with that old information from the lecture you just left. So there's no way you're going to remember everything that was taught. This is where studying comes in. You have to study for your courses. So some of us have a hard time getting started, doing it. So some study tips I strongly recommend: if there's homework assigned, yeah, do your homework. That is the best practice for your upcoming exams. Also, most courses have a textbook, or your instructor has pages from whatever text and they upload them. Read them. Read them thoroughly. If you're reading a textbook, you want, and I get it, it may be boring information. You want to start by looking at the subject heading and then any captions under that. Also, a lot of new textbooks, they even have links for videos that accompany that topic. Click and watch the video. They may even have off to the side some examples of that concept. Read those. All of this information in the book will be very relevant and very helpful for you. Also, in your textbook, you're going to often see any terms or concepts in a bold print. Those are more likely going to be your key concepts. This gives you an idea of what this whole chapter consists of. Now, if you can, and if you prefer, you can also underline information in your book, and you can make notes from your textbook. Also, highlight a main idea. Again, rephrase a paragraph. I'm really big on rewriting things in your own words, because little do you know, once you go back and read it, you will have a better understanding of it, because you rewrote it in the terms that make sense to you. Write down all those key terms, because more likely most, if not all of those, will be on an exam. And you can also put that in the margins of your notes. The chapter summaries. This summarizes the whole chapter. It goes over the main points that were covered. So make sure that you review the summary at the end of each chapter. And if you found something that you weren't clear on, go back to the chapter and read it. Sometimes textbooks will have review questions at the end of each chapter. Do those. That is good practice for understanding the information. That's good practice for taking a test. Review, review, review. Concentrate on the stuff you don't know. If there was something that you liked and you understood quickly, you probably don't need to spend a lot of time on that. You need to spend time on that concept that you had no idea what that instructor was talking about. That is the one. And also, when you're studying, it's not a good idea to study for hours on end, because honestly, at some point, you're just going to be staring at the information. You're encouraged to take a break. If you're going to challenge yourself to read a chapter or read some information for 1 hour, take a break after that hour. If you can only do it for 15-minute intervals, do that. But taking breaks and not overexerting yourself is very important when you're studying. And also get some sleep. I do realize some of us have 2, 3, 4 jobs, and sleep is not something that you have plenty of time for. I strongly encourage you to get it, because sleep actually can contribute, lack of sleep can contribute to problems in your memory, retaining information. So if you're not getting any sleep at all, sufficient sleep at that, studying for school is probably not even going to be beneficial because, again, sleep deprivation is an issue with concentrating. It is a problem with remembering or recalling information. So if you can, you should get as much sleep as you should need to.
Excuse me, Ms. Walker. I think we have a question.
Oh, okay, yes.
Someone raised their hand. Do you want to go ahead?
Okay, I did see in the chat someone asked, will this be reviewed after the session? So it is being recorded, correct?
It is being recorded, and I was going to ask Ms. Walker if you care if I send a copy of the PowerPoint to anyone who's signed into the meeting.
Oh, not at all. I certainly will
That's-
send that to you.
So if you guys sign in with your email address, then I'll make sure and send all of you a copy of the PowerPoint so you have all of the core information from the presentation today.
Okay. So I see that Ms. Gibbons in the chat has asked a very good question. What is the appropriate hours for sleeping? Yes. I will be honest, that does depend on age, but the average adult should be getting, yes, I know, guys, at least 7 hours of sleep. Honestly, if 6 happens, okay. Anything under 5 hours is actually the point where it can be detrimental. And I have heard of certain people having that little. So if you can, please. So when it comes to studying, remembering information, and I know if your memory is like mine, it's getting pretty bad these days. So there are actually a couple of things, techniques, strategies that you can do to help you retain information longer or retain it better. So one steady trick or strategy is to rewrite your notes. So even if you were in class and you took notes, and especially if they were a bit sloppy, when you get home, rewriting actually helps you remember your information a little better. There actually also is a memory term called chunking. So chunking means that you group information together based on similar characteristics. An example of chunking would be our social security number. You don't rattle off that whole number. You break it into threes, like 555, 55, 55, 55. So even with your notes or when you're studying, you can chunk information together based on their similarities, however you want to group them. Grouping them together in groups is more manageable and you can retain the information a bit better that way. Now, I'm not a fan of study groups. However, if that works for you, that can also be a good technique to study. Because sometimes when you're studying with other people, they may have, I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Centria's comment, but this, sometimes in groups, someone may have some information or an understanding that you didn't, and you guys can, feed off each other, compliment each other. However, study groups should remain for studying. If you know this is the time you're going to catch up on the gossip from the latest housewives or whoever, it's probably in your best interest not to participate in a study group. But they can be useful if they're used for what they are intended to. Okay, there we go. So also, another tactic is flashcards. Now, I will be honest, these can be time consuming, but when you're writing or creating your flashcards, that's only helping you retain the information better. So how to write a flashcard? It doesn't necessarily have to be a perfect index card. You can use notebook paper. What you would do is on one side of it, you're going to write the key term or the concept. Then on the reverse side of the card, you're going to put the definition. And you can use this to study because, again, your answer's on one side and the key terms on the other. I have also found a website that will assist you and help you in making flashcards. So if you don't even get this, remember, we're going to send this PowerPoint to each of you, and you can actually capture that website then. So this way you can just type out your flashcards and print them or save them, whatever works for you. And another memory technique is called a mnemonic device. So a mnemonic device, this would entail you creating like an association, a song, a jingle, acronyms, anything to help you understand or remember the information. I find this to be very useful, especially if you're in a class like medical terminology, remembering all of those. An example of that would be the image here with the music notes. You would go with grizzly bears don't fly airplanes. Therefore, you know which music note is where. So these can be time consuming, but they can be very, very helpful. Chunking is actually a mnemonic device. Then we have the biggest thing that contributes to students not doing well in classes, stress and time management. I get it, stress is probably inevitable. Actually, a little stress is actually good. We call that eustress. It can push you to do better. However, too much stress, that can be a bad thing. So when we are stressed or in overload, you can start making mistakes. You can just shut down and give up to like, to heck with this class, to heck with school, um, everything. So I encourage you to use some relaxation techniques. Even though you're working hard, you should rest just as hard. That is very important. Your body needs to put itself back together again so you can function. So some relaxation techniques you can do. One is deep breathing. And if any of you are familiar with meditation or you do meditate, you can attest to that. This alone can relieve stress. Meaning if you're studying for something at home even, and you're just having a moment where you're about to lose it, stop. Take some deep breaths, even walk away from the homework for a few minutes if you need to. Some other things that can really work is control the negative self-talk. If you are completing an assignment and you're struggling with it, don't beat yourself up. Remember, you are learning this information. You're not expected to know it. This is why you're in school, to get a better understanding of this particular subject. So there's really no need for you to badmouth yourself, calling yourself slow or dumb or stupid. Remember, you're learning this information. The instructor knows it. You're here to learn it. Practice positive self-talk. Oh, I can do this. I'm struggling a little bit here, but I will ask my instructor for some clarity. And then I will sit here and read through this, and I'm going to get this. Believe it or not, positive words actually can change your mood. You really need to apply positive thinking. Now, and also another thing that really, really hinders success in the classroom is your time management skills. I get it. You only have so many hours in a day. There's only so many things you can accomplish. However, school should be a priority. After all, you're either paying for this or you're spending a lot of time doing this. Why would you want all of that to be wasted or thrown away? So school is going to have to be a priority, just like work, just like the kids, just like your family obligations. School is a priority, but you've got to manage that time wisely. So we all get those same 24 hours in a day. Nobody gets more, nobody gets less. So what the thing you can do again is organize and plan. If you especially know if things are coming up, if you have a job, you already know your work hours. So you can schedule study time around that. When you have good time management skills, it actually helps you not to be as stressed because you are allotting specific time for specific activities. So some time management during exams. So I can't attest to all classes, but some classes actually have exams that are online or even in person. So one big stressor of an exam is it being timed. You may have 60 minutes to complete 25 questions. You may have 90 minutes to complete 50 questions. So some tips on how to be well prepared for an exam. Prepare. You should have all of your notes organized and ready. If you printed PowerPoints, you should have them listed by chapter. If you have your written notes, you should have those out and available. If you have a textbook, have that available, or even have the PDF of your textbook available. Have everything you need already there. And if you can, already have it color coordinated by chapter even. I don't know if if most students instructors allow this. Is if you can preview the test, that's a good idea. But if you can't preview it, at least try to discover what types of questions to expect, like multiple choice. How many questions? What kinds of questions? Because if you know that ahead of time, you can probably be better prepared. Because if it's short answer or fill in the blank, okay, I might have to do some of that. But if it's multiple choice, this way you know the correct answer will be there. You'll just need to discover a method of eliminating the wrong answers. Yes, I know time exams can give people stress. So this is why if you're prepared before taking the test, that can relieve some of that stress. I will be honest, with a time test, a lot of students I find struggle because they're looking for the answer while they're taking the test. I call that studying for the test while you're taking it. That's a problem. You actually need to read your chapters and study before taking the test. You need to have your notes organized before you sit down to take your test. This will actually relieve some, not quite all, but some of that stress and pressure. Also, create a test schedule, especially if it's an online exam and if your instructor gives you a time period to have it complete. Design or create a time to take your test. And what I mean by that is if you know your exam is due on a Sunday, Friday night is the night I'm going to take my test. You schedule your time between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. You're going to go into a quiet room and you're going to take your exam. Taking it on the fly when you feel like you have time or on your phone at work can be problematic. So, some tips for taking tests. I get it, they do give you anxiety, but here's some things that possibly can help you out. Answer the easy questions first. You know those answers. You're not going to need to spend as much time on those. Then those difficult questions, move on to those. Then the really hard questions, you will answer those after that because you've gotten the easy ones out of the way. You now have a little bit more time to focus on the ones you were uncertain of. And if you find you are short on time, you got 10 minutes left and you got 8 more questions, guess. Never leave a question blank because that one's definitely going to be marked wrong. However, if you, in those 10 minutes, if you guess, odds are you're going to get 2 or 3 of those correct. But never leave a test blank. Never exit an exam without submitting and saving it. These are good things to help you with taking an exam. And if you have managed to complete it and you have a few minutes left, review your answers. You could have been so certain that something was correct and it wasn't. So go back, check your answers if you have time. If you do not, you just want to make sure you've gotten all those answers, all those questions answered. Use all of your test time. I can't stress this enough. A timed exam may be 60 minutes, it may be 90 minutes. I have seen students take 15, 20 minutes of an hour and a half exam. Why? You have 90 minutes, use all your 90 minutes. If you manage to answer all of your questions, go back and review. Look at something you weren't so sure of and check all of your answers. So use all of your time. Why wouldn't you take advantage of that? Because trust me, you may have made a mistake. And if you have time to catch it, please do so. So a great college student, they know when to study. They know where to study. They know how to take notes. They know what to do to complete their homework. They know why it's important to be a great test taker. So there are some resources here at Lanier Tech that you may or may not be aware of. So I would like to point some of those out. We offer tutoring in a number of subjects. Um, this tutoring link can be accessed from the Lanier Tech homepage. At the top of your screen, you will see something called Quick Links. You click on that link and you click on My LTC Students. And you just scroll down till you see tutoring available for students. Now, the thing about that, you will actually see links for a particular subject. We actually offer tutoring in anatomy and physiology, chemistry and physics. There is psychology tutoring, business technology. We've recently added the library services. If you need help with how to conduct research, the library is offering tutoring in that area now. And there's, of course, tutoring for math and writing. So once you visit these sites, you have to schedule an appointment with the tutor. Some of this can be virtual, face-to-face. Their hours and times will be listed, but once you use the link to schedule your appointment, of course, you're going to do this for a time that works for you. Please take advantage of the tutoring services. If you find that you are having some difficulty in course, yes, your instructor can assist you, but we also offer tutoring services. These are people who are designed to help you understand this information. This is a good resource. We also have our academic support and student navigator and our host today, Megan Whitworth. If you have questions about, well, how do I do this and how do I find that? As the student navigator, Megan, would you like to finish for me?
Could finish for you. Hi. Yes, I am here to meet with you one-on-one if you would like to go over specific to you study skills, time management techniques. We can talk through your schedule, your work schedule, your personal schedule, and how to fit in some study time. And then we can just also talk about something Miss Ben Walker touched on, your learning style, and just one-on-one, whether it be phone or online or in person, and kind of get you started to be more successful in your classes if you feel like you're struggling a little bit. I also am here to direct you to anyone at the college you need to talk to. So if you have an issue and you don't know who to talk to about it, let me know and I'll make sure you get to the correct person. I mean, exactly like it sounds, I'm here to navigate you through the college to whichever area you need to go. So I'm more than happy. You guys all have my email. I send a million emails all the time. You all have my contact information. So just let me know if you'd like to meet or talk sometime.
Thank you, Megan. Yes, guys, so she does send it, but if you need it again, when you receive the PowerPoint, I have all of Megan's information listed right there. So you should be able to locate her. So again, if you're wondering how, what to do something, Megan can help you figure out where to find that information. Now, we also have what we call a disability coordinator. If you believe that you need some type of accommodations in your classroom, Allison Haynes is the coordinator of our disability services. You could request an appointment with her and she will tell you what information she needs to help you get certain accommodations for your classes. It is a process that you would have to speak with her directly concerning, but if anyone feels that they have some issues with any type of physical disabilities, any type of learning disabilities, any type of issues that you believe can hinder you're studying or completing a class successfully, again, you would speak with Allison Haynes and she can help you actually tell you about any information that she needs to assist you better. We also have a special populations coordinator. So This would be Carrie Register. Her phone number is actually listed here. So who are our special population students? These are students who are single parents. Have you been displaced from your home? If you are having any type of financial issues, even if you have limitations in English, meaning that your first language is something else and English is your second language. If you are what we call a non-traditional student. You haven't been in a classroom in 30 years. Also, if you believe you have some special needs or requirements, our special populations coordinator can assist with this. Even if you don't have all the tools you believe you need for school, she can assist you with this. She's also been known to assist with any type of trauma or stress issue that you may have in your home that's hindering you with school. Speaking with this person will actually help you find the resources that can best assist you. And we also have career services. I didn't realize how many students didn't know that we do have career services, meaning that this person can help you with career counseling. Perhaps you started a course of study and you discovered that you really don't like that one, but I've taken all these classes. How should I do? If speaking with someone in career services, they will actually help you look through our program to see which one you may be closely aligned to or which one you are about to finish. Also in career services, they offer personality tests. You're not quite sure where you fit in. They also help with resume writing, interview skills. So this is a service that we do offer that you should take advantage of. And we have, last but not least, Lanier Tech does offer a third-party counseling service. So, and we actually call this Aspire Counseling Services. You can access this page from the Lanier Tech homepage by going to quick links and hitting my LTC students. What this service is that we actually employ licensed counselors, licensed psychologists. So if you feel you have some emotional or social problems or issues, you can contact this service. And there's also a phone number listed, and they will help you get in contact with a counselor that would align with what your needs are. So that brings my presentation to a close. Does anybody have any questions?
I know I've been harping on this, but you guys make sure and sign in with your first and last name and email address. I'll send the presentation from today, the PowerPoint, so you have that. I'm going to pull 5 names who are winners from the people who sign in and send you some options to pick a prize from. And I'll also send you guys a survey so we can get your feedback on, how that we can make these better for you guys. But we really appreciate you coming.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And also remember, if your class is offering extra credit, make sure you adhere to your instructor's directions for how to submit those. And also, just FYI, if anybody joined late, I am wearing a pink shirt and a gray jacket. For those of you who are familiar with the questions, you get what that means. So if nobody has anything else, thank you for attending. And I will see you around campus, I suppose. Bye.
Hey, I have a question real quick.
Yes.
So my professor said to put the answers in the chat box, and you said not to do that, right?
Okay, the chat box in the in your Blackboard course.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Just kidding.
Let me guess who your instructor is. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
No worries. That'll be available, guys, for 2 weeks. I'll probably make those instructions a bit clear.
Yeah,
so does anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, I am going to sign off, and you guys have a great semester. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.